You Sports Talk. And today we have Margo. I don't want to butcher your name.
It's okay. It's a really hard one. Super
So
hard.
I'm gonna say Coach Margo. I see your
Yeah.
team put Coach OZ. Oz. Did they say Oz or OZ?
Yeah, Coach Oz, yeah.
Coach Oz. You can tell everybody your last name again.
Yeah,
But
Ostarticki.
okay, yeah, what she said. But first off, I want to start off by thanking my sponsors, Steve Aguado for my banner that's y'all see behind me, and want to thank Justin Womack from the Garage Factory. He make the chains y'all see everybody wearing, the MVP chains and the hype chains and all those good chains y'all see people wearing at the fields and stuff like that. If any team need a chain, get with Justin Womack in the Garage Factory. So again, welcome Coach Margo to the show. First off, you want to start off with your upbringing, talk about your upbringing and the sports you played growing up.
Yeah, so I grew up in San Antonio. When we were playing, I mean, my dad put us like in everything, and the softball kind of just is the one that stuck. I loved playing volleyball, but he was like, "You're not tall and you cannot jump, so we need to figure something else out," you know. And so we ended up kind of focusing more on that, and then I ended up getting a scholarship to play at A&M Corpus when I was, I think they started talking to me when I was a junior, and then I signed when I was a senior and went there. I played there all 4 years, stayed, got my master's, and now I coach club ball, I coach high school ball, I do private lessons, all that kind of good stuff. So before I got married, I did a lot of select ball, ton of select ball. Every other weekend was at the fields, two different age groups, 10s, and then I did 16. So you had like the more developmental teams, and you had the more, trying to go to college teams, college recruitment stuff. So that was in like basically 2012 to 2016, and then I took a break, and then now I'm back in the select world. So, and
Okay.
of course high school ball. So a little
Okay.
different, totally different than the travel ball world.
I bet.
Yeah.
So first off, I know I was introduced to you by people saying, the whole TikTok thing that you have going on there. So how is it when you go to those tournaments if people recognize who you are? Do they like interrupt you in what you're doing, or they, just do it on the side when they see you alone?
No, I think everyone's really respectful. I don't think that I've had any like weird interactions with people. I think a lot of people are like, "Wait, are you that girl online?" And it kind of they make that connection because it all depends on like what video you saw, like, or if it's me just talking to the camera, or is it me like pretending to be somebody like a mom or whatever. So it's funny because I went to the softball convention and this guy came out to me. He's like, "I know you. I don't know why, but I know you, and I." Don't know why, so I was like, "Oh, well, I post content online." And he was like, "Oh my gosh, yes, I've watched your videos online." So sometimes it takes a little bit, and it's just so funny because like everyone, we're all in it for the right reason, or hopefully and for the same reasons, like building up the just like the need and the want for the sport, right? Spreading like how fun it is, how like great it is for your kid to play and be a part of it. But it's also like the weird parts of like parents wanting drama and, just like the funny kind of like comic relief that a lot of people need because it gets like so intense at times.
Mhm.
So, but yeah, most of the time people are pretty cool about it. So, and it's fun. It's fun to see the girls be like, "Oh my gosh, like I learned so much from your video one time." I was like, "That's so great." Because that's the whole point, right? Is to educate and entertain.
Yeah. And what made you want to start doing that? It's just things you just seen while at the fields, or it's just, one day you're just like, I'm gonna start doing some videos.
Well, it was like I saw people doing it and I was like, "Pff, they're not doing that good a job. Like I could do this." And it's easy to say that and not do it and be like, "Well, I could have." And so I thought I wasn't really hitting a lot when you have kids. I have kids. So and they're little, and so you don't get to like spend 5 hours a day training after work because you got to go be a mom. And I really don't want to either, anymore. And so when I thought about starting the videos, I was like, maybe I could reach more of an audience like through a video than I could one-on-one training. And that's kind of like I had the time. It only takes me a couple minutes to make the videos. And then, from there, I was like, man, these people don't get like how the recruiting process works. Like they don't get like how it's pretty simple, but it's also very complex and it's not like a cookie cutter situation. So I started like posting about that. And then I thought, oh my gosh, these people are crazy. Like I should post about that, And so it's like I don't even know like really like where I went with like the whole like I don't have like actual like marketing plan by any means like when I post stuff. It's more of just like what's happening in my life, what I feel passionate about, what I think makes like the most sense. And it's also just like a hobby. It's something like I wanted to learn like about the algorithms, how to make the videos. It was something like I challenged myself to do. I didn't know anything about posting online or being an
Right.
influencer of sort. And so then when I started gaining traction, I was like, oh wow, like maybe I can get like a couple like free stuff. And then it became like more and more and it's become a lot of fun. So um it's never like wanting to be like my full-time job, but it's definitely fun to like put that stuff out there and then also network. There's so many people, like there's a girl in Florida I'm like really good friends with now. We've actually never met in person, but we talk to each other every week, because we're doing the same stuff online. So it's fun. It's a lot of fun.
Yes. No, that's good because I mean, my wife, she was going through the videos and she was like, "Oh, look at this," and look at that, and I was like, "What?" Not knowing because like I'm not a TikTok person. Like I don't
Right.
like I just a lot of people tell me you can learn this and learn that off of TikTok, which I mean I don't have a problem with it, but it's just I never just have the time to just sit there and just go through it. Like I
Yeah,
mean,
you
like you
don't
said,
like
you got
veg out and just like
yes,
scroll.
yes, yes. Like you
Yeah.
said, you have kids. I mean, I try to put a lot of time into this work, and then, well, I got a lot of kids. I got 5 kids. I got a 12-year old, and then all the way down to a 5-month old. So,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I do a lot, in with that, so I never really have time to just scroll. But the stuff that I've seen that you put out is some of it. Like today, I was watching the Game Changer when we used the Game Changer mom.
Oh
Like
yeah.
I was cracking up because it be like it's true, like
It's
how you say it.
so real. And like it's funny because like I started coaching this 12U team and they're great. I mean, every parent on there, but it's funny because they're like, don't make a video about me. Like, don't make a video about, but I haven't. I think it's funny because when you hear so much stuff and the same stuff all the time, like crazy people like freaking out about stupid game changer,
Mhm.
you're like, dude, it is not that serious,
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
So I think it's interesting to, people can relate to the same type of problems like on every team, you
Hmm.
know?
Yeah.
Even the stuff that like people get so worked up about. Like we were playing in the game and like I'll see someone acting out, like acting crazy, and I'll write it down. I'll be like, I'm gonna do that later. And I'll write it out and like sometimes it hits, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes I'm like not really feel like because I think it's like so ridiculous. I probably like need to get more in character for it. Like I'm
Mhm.
just like, oh my god, these people are nuts. Like 12U softball. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think the game changer mom is a whole character in itself.
Yeah, no, it's funny. It's funny. Keep doing what you're doing. at
Yeah.
what at what age did you start playing select ball?
Well, back in the day, they didn't have they had basically you played little league and then you could play 12s and then 18s. There was no 14s or 16s because there wasn't enough kids playing. So when we started playing, we played 12s. I would say the first like select team I was on was 12s. And then when it came to going up, I was like 13, barely turned 14 playing 18s, which is not anything you should do now. Like you should play your age bracket every year that you're in there. But it just wasn't that way. You didn't have to. You didn't have to play every all year round. You played in your season, you played maybe in a fall, if you wanted to. But when you're in middle school, you tried out everything. So I would say 12s for a little bit and then 18s we started, which was basically high school ball. Like freshmen, sophomore, juniors and seniors. You played softball 18U because that was all that was provided.
Okay. Okay. So yeah. So it's just that now they got. more than needed. Now,
11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. It's nuts. It's nuts. I think, when I was like, oh, yeah, well, I'll coach 12U, they're like, well, we're 11s. I was like, there's enough kids to play 11s. And they're like, yeah, like there's a whole brackets. So I think it's cool because you do get to see, but here's the problem with that. When you're playing 11s, it goes by birth year. It's not by graduation year. So we have some girls that are fifth graders playing with sixth graders,
yeah,
and that's just not going to turn over well, when you get to high school ball because they're going to be graduation year. So I think that tens should start graduation year, like
mm,
grouping the girls together rather than birth year. Because
mm,
obviously, if you have a summer birthday or you're born after September 1st, it's going to be
yeah.
you're going to be a different class.
And I think there's a few sanctions that's starting to do that. There's a few
I
sanctions
hope so.
that have started it. Matter of fact, I think Alliance. I think it's like fast. There's a few. I know there's a few that have started doing it by the birth year. Um, but I think a lot of people they gon' like the way like you saying it, like it's cool. I think a lot of people gonna try to downplay it, if that's how I can say it, because they'll look at it like, oh, she's a 12. Because since it's been going by birth year for so long, so people will be like, oh, it's 12. Why are they playing with the 13s? Like that's just
Right.
I mean, I don't know how long you've been in it. I've not been in it that long, but I've been in it lately.
It's one more thing for them to complain about, I guess.
Yeah.
To me, at the end of the day, they're gonna have to either play down or play up. But I guess that's
Mhm.
like however you want to say it.
Yeah,
Like what your
true.
actual year is. So, um, yeah, I think it would be smart, especially when it becomes to middle school ball, like when they become a sixth grader,
Hmm.
that they start playing their graduation year. Just so
Yeah.
it makes more sense when they start, because when they have the, graduation in 2031
Yeah.
or whatever, and you have 2030s and you have 2032s, it's like, okay, what are they doing here? You can always play up, you can't play down. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
True.
I guess it depends. At the end of the day, it's gonna all get washed out at 14s anyway. So
Yeah. True. True. At what age did you realize you can play softball at the next level?
oh, that's a good question. I don't even really know because it didn't we weren't shooting for a level of, we just know, me and my dad, my family really just knew that we wanted to play. Like I wanted to play in college. Like it wasn't really about a level that I wanted to play at. It was more just like I wanted to continue the career of.
Mhm.
So when it just came down to that, my dad was like, we just gotta work. That's all it really was about, was the work being put in. Eventually it ended up being Division 1, but that really wasn't like a focus, I guess, of ours. When we started getting really serious is when I started dropping off other sports. Like basically by the fall of my sophomore year, I started being like, okay, like I really want to do this. Like that's when I kind of turned and like pivoted to only softball stuff. Nowadays, that's probably too late. You probably have to do it like maybe like going into your freshman year. And like what you can really, you know, I guess do physically, because the travel for the fall league for the fall season is so rough. On like if you want to play high school volleyball, you just can't do both. Not in Texas,
Yeah.
because you got to travel those places, and a lot of those games are on Friday nights. So you're gonna miss out if your volleyball games are on Fridays. You're gonna miss out, or you're gonna miss the games on Fridays that you're gonna have for the club ball. So you kind of have to pick. Unfortunately, your freshman year, if you do want to play, and if you don't, it doesn't have to happen your freshman year. It's just a year that you are missing out on, something that you can have. So it's not wrong. It's just the decisions that you make, kind of thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yep. No, it make a lot of sense
Yeah.
because sometimes it's like in my case, like my daughter, she's seventh grade, so she's just starting to play school sports. So it's like okay, well, she had to miss like one softball tournament, but she's like a softball maniac. Like that's the only sport that she ever played. Like so when she had to miss softball, like club softball select for a volleyball tournament, she was like going nuts.
Yeah.
She was going nuts. But I'm like, this is part of what it is of playing multiple sports. You might have to miss one for the other, or vice versa. So, but
And that's like a
it's
parenting thing, right? You have to
yeah,
like manage your expectations as a parent and as their parents who being the player, be like, look, like you have dedicated your time or you signed up for this, like just because they
Mhm.
ask you to play softball and you're wanting to do that more, you still I think it's important to show that you respect the schedule. You know what I mean? Because it's not like you're just like, oh, I can miss and it's all good. It's like people put so much time and energy into that schedule, into like it affects everyone, all the way down to the ninth girl that doesn't get to play that if you show up, or they do get to play because you don't show up. So I
Mhm.
think it's really important for parents to sit down and really look realistically. Can you get to that ball game? Can you change and get back to that court? Like, I think a lot of people are like, oh, we'll figure it out. And it's just not fair. It's not fair to everybody else that's on the team, you know?
Yep, I agree. I agree. At what age did you start pitching?
Probably like 10s, maybe 11s. Yeah, probably 10 years old. I mean, yeah, I would say 10. And that was like brutal. For any 10-year-old, it's still brutal. It's so hard and their
Mhm.
bodies are changing so much. And especially at this time period that we're coaching now with the 11s, like their arms and legs are growing, but not at the same pace. So all the
Mhm.
timing's a little off. And like that's when a lot of people quit, when they move back to 40 feet and they're like, dude, this sucks. Like, I don't want to practice as hard as something, and they like, I still have to hit. And there's a lot going on. So I would say if, you have to have a certain personality to be a pitcher. It's not like it just, you naturally come by it and you're like, oh, wow, she's pretty good. It's like, then the work comes in. You're like, golly, like this is a ton of work. And, yeah, I think it's really important, but I didn't mind doing that. So that was something like that was my personality that I didn't mind going and pitching the bullpens and then going to hit and all that kind of stuff. So, and I had a good dad. I mean, he's still alive. Obviously, I still have him, but he was kind of the driving force of like the schedule of it all. Like, hey, we need to go do this, this, and this, and I just didn't complain. So
Mhm.
I had the driver, like the pusher of like the workflow, and then I was okay with the work, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, yeah, that make a lot of sense.
So, there
Be-
wasn't a lot of trainers that where I live, so I had to drive all the way like, I had to drive almost an hour to get pitching lessons,
Oh,
when I
wow.
was in high school because no one around that either we didn't like them or we didn't find value or whatever, so we
Mhm.
ended up going and driving, like, New Braunfels from San Antonio is about 45 minutes depending on traffic,
Yeah.
So we
Mhm.
went every week. We drove to that guy's house. And it worked out. It all paid off. But yeah, I mean, now that I live in Houston, I'm like, dude, there's a pitching instructor every like 20 minutes, from you. Like it's not a big deal at all.
Mhm. Oh yeah, for sure. And just so I just moved here from San Antonio. It's a pitching instructor in every corner in San Antonio now too.
Now there is.
Yeah.
Who do y'all go to now?
Well, so we don't pitch. She did. My daughter
Oh,
did want to pitch, and I think we went through like 3 or 4 pitching instructors before we was like, you know what? Yeah, you want. I was like, I kind of gave her. You want to pitch or you want to be a hitter? Like because both of them you got to put a lot of time in,
yeah,
especially pitching.
countless. Yeah,
Especially pitching. Like hitting, you can go maybe 2 or 3 days, a week, go to lessons, then outside of lessons. But pitching, oh my gosh. Just all the different mechanics you have to know to be able to be a great pitcher. So
right.
you have to put in a lot of work to be a pitcher. And so we kind of went away from that and just kind of focused on her hitting. Like one of the top hitter. She's a very good hitter. Let's
That's
just say
good.
that for her age, she's a very good hitter, and so that's what we've stayed focused on. And I mean that paid off for us a lot. Let
Mm,
it paid off for us a lot. So once you got to college, what was your welcome to college moment?
mm. Nothing appropriately that I can say. There was some hazing, you're just like, whoa, like I can't believe that
Freshman
happened.
hazing.
Um, no, I mean, I picked the college, like I picked the perfect college for me because it was a smaller school. I got to play all year, basically every game. I only sat 2 games my whole career. So that was a good fit for me. I also felt like I made friends immediately because I was an athlete. So that was super easy because you do all this like pre-season or basically starting of the new year with all the athletes. So it's not like you don't meet anybody before you go to class. And that
Mhm,
was super easy because like everyone was like, "Oh, you play softball. Oh, you play baseball. You play volleyball." So that was super easy.
mhm.
You're already part of a community. You haven't even, started classes yet.
Right.
So, um but I picked the right fit for me, and athletically, academically, and like socially. That's what I wanted. And it all made sense when I got there. I think a lot of girls are picking out schools or maybe teams of their choice that they want to go play at, not where they can play at or that they fit in. Like, you're super conservative and you go to a liberal school,
Mhm.
that's not going to work. And
Yeah.
so I think a lot of parents aren't also stepping in and being like, hey, I know my kid. Like, what are you doing? You're not going to be happy there. Like,
Mhm.
so having those realistic, like, conversations with your kids are really, really important, and not just being like, okay, whatever makes you feel good, baby. It's like, no, they're going to be home in like a year
Hmm.
you know so
Mhm.
and the type of people that went to the school when I was there were my people. Like, I got along with them. Like, I just got really blessed with a lot of great friends, a lot of great people around me. So um it was easy. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. It was like super easy to
Yeah.
start
Oh, no.
there and stay there.
Yeah, because like you said, some people go to college and like, oh, wait a minute, this not what I thought it was gonna be. Because when you go on your visits, I mean, they make sure everything is fit for you to like it until you
Right.
get there, and then you realize like, whoa, this is not what it was when I came to visit.
Well, the
Well, that's
visits
why
are
you.
not that long. They're
Okay.
you might, and I don't know if you know anything about visits, but you can go for a day visit, you can go for an overnight visit, or maybe even stay for a whole weekend, but everyone's on their best behavior. The coach
Mhm.
that recruits you on your visit is not the coach you're going to go play for, because now it's game time, right? Now it's time for him to win or her to win. So they don't care. You're already there. So I think people have this like expectation of like, the Disneyland experience on the visit. Like, oh my God, they
Mhm.
love me. They want me to come. It's like when you go on a first date, everyone's on their best behavior. And then you get there, you're like, wait a minute, you're not cool with me anymore. It's like, no, I got to win now. I got to keep my job. So there is not a lot of courtship when it comes to kids actually learning who they're playing for, doing the research, learning like, oh my gosh, I can't have a car on campus. Like, I have to
Mhm.
get a bus or get a friend or whatever. Like, doing that kind of stuff, that research, it makes a huge difference. Um, I just think a lot of people are just jumping into it because it sounds good. And at the end of the day, they have to like kind of lay in the bed they made, and it's not one that's like super cozy for long term. So
Mhm. Yeah, and people need to, like you said, you picked a school that was fit for you for academics, athletics, and social and everything. A lot of people just pick school just for the name of the school, and that's it. Don't know what's gonna happen when they get there, but the name sounds really good.
yeah, I mean, it's all about the post. It's all about it all paid off. I got my money back. Anyone who's playing select ball, you're not getting your money back. Every
Mm,
every dime that you give, look at it like going to Disneyland. You're paying for an experience. Not
mhm.
like you're gonna get like in a maximized amount of effort or like cash back. Even these girls going, NIL money on average is softball is $375 per person. Like it's not that much for softball people. Okay.
Mhm.
Nahari is different. Okay.
Way different.
Yeah, she is the unicorn. You are not. Okay. The other thing is like full rides they don't exist anymore. Okay. So like if you want to get your school paid for on a full ride, you have to have academic and athletic scholarship money to be an athlete. Okay. We're talking about Division 2, Division 1, Division 2, junior college. Okay. They can offer NAIA can offer athletic. Division 3, all academic. But people are thinking like, oh my gosh, this big school with all this money. No, they had to cut that up in so many
Mhm.
pieces to make it all work, to make the puzzle come all together. So I would say if you're not a pitcher catcher or like an amazing like home run hitter, you're gonna get partial, like 100% partial. And even these girls are gonna get partial, meaning like maybe like 70%, 60%, and they're gonna top it off with hopefully academic. And that's how they have to work it now, because that's just the way it is. There's just too many girls playing, transfer portal, all those things that are just like more factors that were not even existent when I got there.
Mhm.
So when I
Mhm.
signed, I got 75% scholarship. And then when they can up it if they want at the time. So they upped mine to 90. And then when I went to grad school, they paid for all of it. So obviously if you do better, they give you more money. But
Right.
now they have NIL stuff. So they dangle that carrot in front of everyone's nose, like, hey, you can get this, you can get this. But that's a whole different you know, that's a whole different topic, because that's not just like not like football players. It's not like they have,
Exactly.
like those football players are making so much more money because of like the TV deals and all that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
So when it comes to softball, it's like you got to hustle for that NIL money, or you better have some donor that loves softball and loves you, and those are few and far between right now. So,
good luck.
um, so what we're trying to say is you need to be smart and good at softball
Yeah.
because that's where you get the money.
Yep.
Yeah.
Books. Stay in them books.
Yep.
Stay in them books. A lot of them, they think they look at Kennedy and like, oh well, shucks, she got this, so I just need to do this, and I can get close to it at least. Yeah, no,
She's
one
also like
million
really
dollars.
smart, I think. Like she's from Stanford. I mean, she has to be smart, right? So
Very smart.
and she's also not sitting around. She's hustling. Every time you're on her
Mhm,
social media, she's doing a post for something, working on
mhm.
something. Like she has an Adidas deal. She did stuff with Patrick Mahomes. Like they both went to tech. Like
Yeah.
she has to earn all that. It's not like she's
Mhm,
just chilling. It's not like the guy that signed the NIL deal for 700,000. He's gonna just play ball. That's not
yeah.
how it works for the girls right
Mhm,
now, which sucks. But it's also like we haven't worked as hard at it. So anyway, so there
mhm.
you go.
Yeah. Well, hey, ladies, stay in them books. Don't
Yeah,
think you
for
don't need the
real.
schoolwork.
Yeah, and the other caveat is like if there's a girl that runs a 2.9 down the line, you run a 2.9 down the line, she's basically all the stats are the same, and you have a 2.5 and she's got a 3.4. They're gonna take the 3.4 GPA over the 2.9, whether because there's just too many girls playing. That's what I'm trying to say. Like
Mhm,
when they first find you interest in your athletic ability, they'll be like, "What is she like grade wise?" And basically, is she a brat or not? Those are the two
mhm,
things they try to find out as they start like watching you play. And then if they don't fall in love with those two, they'll go look for the next person.
mhm.
There's just too many people playing.
Yeah, and what do you think about the transfer portal? I mean, unfortunately, it's there, but how hard is it for these seniors and these high school athletes to get recruited because of the transfer portal?
I think it's the ebb and flow of the talent in the transfer portal. I don't think it's like because there's a transfer portal, people are not going to get recruited. I think that they're going to recruit out of the transfer portal before they're going to recruit a high school kid,
Mm,
just because of the age, the maturity. Honestly, a lot of it's like the weight room. Like those kids that are 2 years in college have been in the weight room a lot more seriously than a high school senior.
mm,
That's my opinion. I haven't heard that. That's my opinion. Um, I think that it does affect it. It definitely affects it. It just depends on like, but college coaches were telling us like, even if she isn't in the transfer portal, she's an 18-year-old and she's the better candidate. I still have to win, so I'm just gonna pick the best person. You know what I mean? So if there's garbage in the transfer portal, they're gonna go look at high school seniors. I think the transfer portal. I think it's crap. I think it sucks that we have it. I think it affects people's commitment. I don't think that it should be that easy to leave when things get hard. Don't get me
mm,
wrong, there's a percentage of people that definitely need to leave the program that they're in, but majority of it, they think the grass is greener and they just didn't work hard. So,
And the transfer portal is something like this, youth softball.
yeah, it's tough out there. Yeah.
Mhm. And it sucks because a lot of times, well, most of the time, it's because of the parents are not happy for the youth. Um, that's the reason why a lot of kids move teams. The parents are not happy because I'm pretty sure a lot of these girls don't go to their parents, and maybe some do. I'm not saying none do because I'm maybe some go to their parents and be like I don't want to play for this coach. This coach is not teaching. Maybe that's a thing.
Right.
But for the most part, it's the parents. The parents are not happy, so they want to go see if they can go to the next team and then the next team and then they have to start going to the out of town team and the out of state team because they just run out of options. Like unfortunately that's a thing.
I think there's a couple of categories that people leave, right?
Mhm.
One, you're on a team, and let's just say y'all were all like this, and then everyone else kept working and you just stayed status quo, right?
Mhm.
And it's a lot from 10s to 11s, 11s to 12. We see that kind of in that age gap there. And then we see it a lot at 14s going to 16s. There's a big letdown at 14s to 16s because people are like, God, this is getting so serious. Like, I don't really want to put all that effort into that. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Like, I just want to go play high school ball, have fun, be a
Yeah.
student. I'm going to go to UT anyway as a student. I don't care, you know?
Mhm.
But there is a reason why it's so important as coaches to have transparency and have stats and all that kind of stuff to show like, hey, we're not getting any better. Like here we were 4 months ago, we've had 8 months of progress. These girls are getting better, faster, stronger, and you're not. Like, where's the letdown? There's also some like players I've seen on other teams where like maybe they're just not playing where they want to play. It's not the fact that they're not playing. It's just like where they want to play, which is totally fair. It's like I just don't want to be a right fielder.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you need to go on a team that you can be
Mhm.
the left
Mhm.
fielder
Yeah.
or a shortstop or whatever.
Mhm.
I see you on this team as the right fielder and I don't see you beating that girl out, you know. Things change. And then of course it becomes when you add someone to the team and that kind of ruffles people's feathers, you
Yeah.
know? As a coach, like there's this pressure of like keeping the team together, but it's also keeping it better and adding the
Better.
right people. And,
Yeah.
we have 11 girls on our team and they're all amazing. And the parents are all great. They're very supportive of me. And this is the first kind of season I've had the 12s. But I'm gonna be very, very picky if we add a 12th person because if they have to be a worker because we don't practice enough, you know? So we
Mhm.
don't want someone to come on our team and just assume that they're gonna get playing time because they're paying the dues. Like none of those girls now they know for sure. Like if they don't perform, they move down or they sit out, or even some of their best ones just had a slump and they had to sit for a little bit,
Mhm.
and they were like, "Man, that was uncomfortable." I'm like, "Yeah, it's uncomfortable me putting you there, but I needed you to like take a mental break, like regroup, you know." So what we did to prevent some of the, I guess, questions is we had end of year meetings and we just kind of went over some things like, "Hey, look, this is what I saw. This is where I would like to see it," or "Hey, she did great. I feel good about
Mhm.
it." Like a lot of it's just communication and transparency. I think that will eliminate stuff or make the transition easier. Like I really want to play third base. Well, you're the third baseman.
Mhm.
Okay, that's fine. That's totally fair. I need to go on a team that I'm the first third baseman. Okay, cool. That sounds good.
Yeah.
I love you. I hope it all works out. But that doesn't have to be that hard. You know what I mean? It doesn't. It just really
Mhm.
does. It's nothing personal. Like
Yeah.
it just we have these girls that are better. And so
Mhm.
um, that's a hard pill to swallow, and it's not a fun conversation for either party.
Yeah.
And so what people
Yeah.
do now is they just ignore it and they just keep like people silently quit. I bet you've seen it.
A lot.
Or they just like start festering in their feelings and you're just like,
Mhm.
dude, they're pissed,
Yeah.
like
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Or
but
they'll
and then the
start
yeah,
going to different parents and try to start stuff like you have those too, and it's but
yeah,
yeah, yeah, it's like you said, it's different categories and they're
yeah.
all out there for sure.
I liked it. Like to me, I don't like controversy. I really don't. Like I like just kind of be like, hey, I understand you're frustrated. Like, let's have a conversation or whatever.
Yeah.
Sometimes people don't want to, and that's okay too. But I feel like through time and people getting to know your personality as a coach, they'll know. They'll know when you're like, hey, like she's just not hitting very good. And they're like, we know. We're trying. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm not going to give up on her if you're not, but just know she's not going to hit 5 or 4 hole.
Yeah.
Like she's going to
Mhm.
hit ninth or
Yeah.
10th. So, yeah, I think there's different categories. And then there's always, and this is a rule that I have for myself. If someone complains and I try to meet them in the middle, they'll always want something more. Like I've seen it time and time again where I'm like, okay, I'm in charge. I'm the coach. I'm the one that has to eat it. Like if they don't perform, I got to go with my gut. So when some people are like, well, I demand this. Okay, then you need to leave. Like I'm not going to bend over. This is not your team. I have to wear every wins and loss. You know what I mean? So I've kind of made that pact to myself. Like if I give in to someone's want that doesn't benefit the team, there's never going to be a stop to that want. They're always going to ask for more. And I've been burned before. So that's something I try not to do.
Yep, I agree with that. I agree with that. And it's because you have parents that is controversy parents where they want to act like they want to talk to you regular, and then try to make a big argument, a big scene about it. And then you have the parents that just really just, talk about it. Let's see, like you said,
Yeah, like,
hey,
"Give me your why," kinda thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, like like she's not ready. Okay, yeah, we see it too. That's fine. Let's go to this team, go into a lesser talented team to figure it out, get it together, and then who knows? One season, 2 seasons, come back and try out for this team. You might make it. Everything is good,
Yeah,
but
and
people don't like to go through the process.
well, and, like, how easy would it be to be on the same page with your parents weekly instead of some like, seasonally, you know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
or just randomly be like, "Sorry, I don't want her back." You know, like,
Yeah.
how crappy, like, what? That's how you handled that? Like, no.
Yeah.
There's some, like, shady coaches out there, like, won't even, like, text a like, just ghost them, basically. I'm
Yep.
like, it's so messed up. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so
Yep.
sorry."
Yeah, yeah, you're right. What was your favorite pitch growing up? And then what was your favorite pitch in college if they were different?
Oh, that's so like, so easy. Curveball. I could throw the curveball anywhere. It was, like, the easiest pitch for me to learn. It was the most effective. And then in college, I learned a screwball to, like, accent the curve, and that's all I threw really is curves and screws, maybe a couple change ups, but I could throw, like, a slower curve if I needed to. So, those were, like, my bread and butter. When I mastered the drop ball, I had the game of my life. Like, I literally had, like, an outer body experience, pitched my butt off. It was the game to go to state in high school.
Mhm.
But for me, that pitch was so, high maintenance, like, for me to, like, keep it up, to keep up, like, the consistency of the actual drop that I was like, I would rather just focus on something that's easier for me, you know what I mean? So,
Mhm.
I just focused it more on the curve and the screw.
Okay, okay. Because
Yeah.
these days, a lot of kids have. How many pitches did you have growing up?
Okay, well, technically, I knew how to throw all of them, but I was terrible. I was not a up and down pitcher. I was a side to side pitcher. So
Okay.
I found better success in going in and out. A lot of girls kind of pick up or down or in and out. That's kind of like where our body types kind of set in. Yeah, for people to have 6 different pitchers, nobody cares. Like one time I was coaching this team right out of college. I was like, "What pitches do you have?" And she's like, "Fastball, changeup, curveball, drop ball, rise ball, worm." So what's the worm do? She was like, it basically was like a knuckle changeup, I guess. I can't remember. And I was
I've
like,
heard that.
okay. But like you can't be great at all 6. You can only pick a
Right.
couple and really master. And that goes in, like I said, like the curveball just came really easy to me compared to the rise ball, but I'm not very tall. I'm only 5'6". So I think a lot of it, which I would love to do research on it, like how body types kind of project what pitches you're going to be good at, or whatever. So
Mm-hmm. Okay, I understand that. Because if you think about it, who's it? Montana Fox. She tall and
very tall.
she have a crazy rise ball.
She said like she throws a lot of fastballs.
Yeah, well, they really fast.
Yeah, they were really fast. She is very tall. She's very tall. We did a camp
Mhm.
with her in the another great thing about doing online stuff is like you meet people. We did a camp with her in the fall and she brought like 4 of her friends like Sis Bates, so the girl Bailey played outfield and her catcher and like they were all so big. But Sis Bates was tiny, but the rest of them I was like, God, y'all are big. There's just like a stature of like that caliber of athlete that's like an Olympian. And I was like, God, I am tiny compared to them, but I got as much as I could out of this body. It just wasn't that.
Yeah, right.
God only gives you so much.
Hmm. I agree with that. How was your work ethic before getting recruited, and how much did it change after?
I think it was the same. I think a lot of people, when they get recruited, let me rephrase that. Some people, when they get recruited, they think that's the end of the journey. They're like, I did it. I got recruited. I'm going to go play in college. Like,
Yeah.
what do you need me to do? But the problem is, everyone that got recruited is as good as you or better, right?
Mm.
Everyone was an all star, all district, all whatever, right?
Yeah.
When I got to college, it was bad. I hit fine. I hit like maybe 290 as a freshman, which isn't terrible. I hit 10 home runs. I had like a ton of RBIs. I did all right. Pitching wise, no. No, I was, like, giving up so many home I gave up, like, 35 home runs, I think. Like, I was just here's the other issue that I think that I wanna make known. We went from 40 feet in high school, and that was a transition to 43. So we were one of the last high school groups to pitch at 40 feet. So when we got to
Oh,
college, there was this whole transition of the 3 feet, and I think that really, like, I had to we learn how to break the ball later, you know what I mean?
mhm,
It made me slower because I was 3 feet back kinda thing. So, my freshman year was a transition year of learning 3 feet deeper, right? Pitching against 22-year-olds, okay?
you're right.
And just understanding the game is more about, like, strategy rather than, like, "Okay, I'm gonna just throw it past them," like I did in high school. Because at high school, I was throwing, like, 65 miles an hour, right? But 3 feet back, I was throwing like 60. It took off a lot of speed.
Mm,
So, it was a learning experience. It was very humbling. And then you got better at it, you got better at it, and you learn, like, just spinning the ball was my thing, and it was great.
mhm,
But I needed time, and I didn't have that time. So, freshman year was tough on the mound, but it only got better, and I actually did really good my senior year. But it just kinda like, man, I should have known more, you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, you were still 18 years old. So
right.
the work ethic probably was harder for me in college because of that transition. And I wanted to
Mhm,
play. So what I would
yeah,
do is our practices are about 3.5 hours, 4 hours every day. We get there about 12:15 ish, I think I remember, and we wouldn't leave till 4. Maybe it was 3.5 hours. Okay, but we hit and fielded every day, so we did defense and offense every day.
mhm,
So what I would do is I would get out of class and I would hit for whole practice. I would have to throw my bullpen, you know what I mean, and then I'd go to
mhm,
class. I felt like the extra reps on top of the practices kind of just kept me in the lineup a lot more.
okay.
And even in my biggest slumps, I would just go hit more, and or I would have to pitch
Mhm,
my bullpen after. So the work, it was a full-time job basically. And then you wake up and do weights and all the things. But the work to get there is only half the battle. It's to stay in the lineup, stay on the team.
mhm.
A lot of girls get cut. Out of 5 freshmen, only 1 make it to their senior year.
Oh,
It's
wow.
pretty crazy. So out of my class, there was 6 freshmen, and I'm the only one that graduated there. Like, they
Mhm,
graduated from the school, they didn't graduate as an athlete, if
that's
that
it.
makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
So
Man, that's crazy.
it's hard. It's a hard and there's other factors. There's, life, maybe something happened in your
Mhm,
family, you have to quit. Money, maybe people ran out of money, or they wanna be a nurse and they don't wanna do the practice stuff, and that kinda takes over.
okay.
They fail out or they get injured. So there's a lot of fact it's not just about ball, but to say that you went to school, played 4 years, it's a big thing. I think it's like, something that people shouldn't take lightly. Like, you accomplish a huge task. It's
Oh,
it's
yeah.
it's crazy.
Yeah. Oh, no, I agree with that. I really agree. And then that was pre transfer portal that
Right.
not many girls, made it to their senior year. Now it's just these girls coming in that's like you said earlier, they better because they're older, been through it longer. So, they come in and just push the younger ones out. Like that's ugh, man, I'm almost to that point where, well, not me, I can't do it, but with my kid, we getting to that point. What was your pitching routine in college? Like you were saying like you will go in before or after practice. How often did you do that before and after practice? Was it every day or what?
It probably depended on, like, what we had going on that week. A lot of times our games were, Saturday, Sunday. We had a doubleheader on Saturday, played on Sunday. So a lot of
Mhm.
our bullpens, we had Mondays off. This is during season, by the way. Like, this isn't in the fall or anything. We'd have Mondays off. Tuesday, Wednesday, we'd probably take it super light because we just pitched the whole weekend. Then we kind of ramp it up Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We're throwing like a feel good, meaning like we're just mixing pitches, making sure everyone like kind of feels right, the spins, all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
But usually our pitching coach would kind of map all that out. Actually, my junior and senior year, we didn't even have a pitching coach there. So you would just do whatever you thought was best, which at that point, I feel like at what we were 20, 20, 22, 20, whatever we are when you're juniors, we kind of, your arm's about to fall off, it feels like anyway. I don't know how the pros do it. I'm like, oh my God, I feel like my arm's about to fall off. But you would throw and then you would just really work on your keeping yourself healthy. That was a big thing too. So I would feel best before pregame if I had already like started sweating, felt like I'd thrown like a couple innings. I felt like the first inning was always the hardest because I was the most nervous, of course. And then the fourth inning. And then if I got through those two innings, I was fine.
Mhm.
But those 2 innings, I really had to focus, and for some reason, I don't know, I can't tell you why, just for me, that was where I really had to turn it up and really focus on my spins, and not giving up silly hits or giving away pitches that I shouldn't give away.
So I wanna go back. When you said your freshman year you gave up a lot of home runs, that had to like mess with you kind of like mentally. So how did you get through that, and just tell yourself like I can do this, I can do this? Because if you're giving up, home run after home run after home run, you can just easily be like, you know what, I give up. Like I don't even want to do this anymore. So
Yeah.
what did you do personally, like for yourself, not team wise, to help you get through that situation?
Well, I gave myself a lot of grace because I'm like, dude, I've never been on this stage before. Like, what do they expect? Like, I knew for a fact that I was going to be a little fish in a big pond, and my birthday's in June, so I was 8. I just turned 18 when I stepped on campus. I was a baby. And when you're looking at these girls, they're so much bigger than you. You're like, okay, like, I mean, there were some girls like 3-0 count still hacking. You know what I mean? So you were not safe ever. And we
Mhm.
in preseason, we have it like our Southland Conference. It's not like you're playing OU every weekend. You're not playing like the best of the best of the best, right?
Right.
But our preseason stuff, we were playing Baylor, A&M, UT. So we were playing all these big games, and I was like,
Mhm.
oh my gosh. For me, it was like, do your best. And so what happened, which you don't know, is we got a new coach after my freshman year. And he looked at the stats and he was like, yeah, you're not pitching anymore. Like, you're not good. And I'm like, well, I am, but I wasn't. Please hear that. Please know, I know those weren't good stats. And he was like, look, I'm just going to pull you out of the bullpen and I'm going to recruit these 2 other girls to come in. And it was devastating. I was like, oh my God. And I went from being like a pitcher, like in just my whole life to like not. I was like, oh my Lord. And so then it was very like, okay, step back. Then God is so, he's got a plan. You just have to be patient and kind with yourself about it. One girl got hurt, one girl quit, the pitchers,
Mhm.
okay?
Oh
And
wow.
I ended up back in the bullpen, okay? He was like, "Oh, we need you." And it was tough. I was like, "Well, I wanna be, so cool." But I hadn't pitched in, like, 9 months because he told me in the fall that I wasn't going to. So I was like, "Okay, I hope it's like riding a bike." And so I got back on it, but I was so sore and I couldn't my legs were not in pitching shape. So my sophomore year was kind of like, whatever. And then my junior year, he said the same thing. I don't need you anymore. I recruited these girls. Guess what? Didn't work out again, right? Pitchers are we're different creatures. All right. So just basically one girl didn't like it. One girl, whatever, she needed me again. And I said, I'm not doing this again. Like, I'm going to pitch all fall and I'll pitch in the spring if you need me. But by my senior year, I'm a pitcher. Like, you have to define me as a pitcher. And I actually pitched like my butt off, and I actually did really well for, not basically being this roller coaster of like in the
Mhm.
bullpen, out of the bullpen. And I was such a good hitter that I still got to play, which was awesome. But talk about like just being a role player and being like, whatever you need, I'll do it and I'll work hard and I'll try my best. And then we don't need you anymore. Okay, I'm gonna do my best. And like some days he'd be like, hey, we need you to play right field. And I'm like, hey, we're playing the University of Hawaii, and they went to the College World Series. Like, are you sure you want me in the outfield? And he was like, we need you. I'm like, okay. So I feel like my personality was to do whatever best for the team, and that if that was on the mound, if that was in right field, playing third base, like whatever I could. And I'll be the first one to tell you, I wasn't the best fielder because I didn't spend any time on it. I was pitching and,
Mhm.
and hitting, all the time.
Mhm.
So by the time I got to my senior year, I'd learned a lot more. Of course, gave up some home runs like everybody does, right?
Right.
But it was better It was more polished. It was mature,
Mm.
So from little Margo at 18, like getting her, stuff rocked, to making it to the, conference tournament and really pitching lights out, like there's just some games you're like, dang, I can't miss.
Mhm.
But it was work. All that was is work and just like sacrifice and I guess just being a part of the plan, whatever that plan was and wherever I fit into it. I think that's not what people are doing now. People are wanting it to be about them.
Yeah.
So, I know that's tough, but it was, and it's like nothing I'm ashamed of. I'm like, hey, look, like I did not meet the mark when I was a freshman, but I never gave up either. So,
Mhm. Yeah.
uh, good job, Margo, for
Yeah,
not
good
giving
job.
up.
Right, because that's a lot of people would have gave up
uh,
in there. Like, what? I'm
yeah,
not pitching. I came here, like that was my thing to pitch, and you telling me I'm not gonna pitch? They would have. Well, I'm not. I quit or something. Anything. But I
yeah.
know you hold the record. Do you still hold the record for the most RBIs?
Yeah, and home runs there. I don't
Okay.
I think I checked like last year and it's still the same. So what people don't understand about Anum Corpus is like the field is huge. It's 225 in the middle, I think, or 220 in the, I don't know, it's huge. Basically, it's a really big softball field, okay? Plus, you have the bay right behind you that's always blowing in the wind
Hmm.
up to 40 miles an hour. So you could totally like smash a ball
And
and
it's
then it
not
blows
going.
right back into shortstop. So I
With
bet it could have been
shortstop.
broken without the wind. But when we played people like UTSA or someone at our conference that like just like hit like bombs, they would try so hard and we'd be right there, right underneath it because we practice all the time in it.
Mhm.
So that kind of helped out a lot. But yes, I think it's still there, which is really cool.
Okay. Hey, well, congratulations.
Thanks, thanks.
What are five key components you feel athletes should have to get recruited?
Um, hard work, selflessness, grace, determination, and just like overall grit. I think those are pretty easy to say, but hard to come by.
Hmm.
Um, I think a lot of people are get uncomfortable and then they're like, this is not for me. It's like it is, it's just not today.
Yeah.
So it's like this is the journey.
Hmm.
And even in life, I mean, being a parent, that's the journey. Some days are so easy and some days aren't. But I think that the stuff that you go through as a college athlete, like where you're managing, I remember there's one time where we were going to playoffs. I had finals. I was having boyfriend issues at the time, whatever, and I'm like speeding. And why I'm mad? Because I don't get to do the team building stuff because I had to go finish my final stuff. I get pulled over and I'm just like sobbing. And the cop was like, are you okay? I'm like, I am not okay. You're just like, you're trying to manage all these things. Like, it's not just about the game. You got to go do all this other stuff. So I think whatever you go through and like managing your time, college isn't hard. It's just stressful. There's a lot of stuff going on at the same time. So if you can do that, you're going to be like, dang, life is not that hard out there. Like I have all this time because you have to go do schoolwork and be an athlete. That's hard. And some of them work too. Some athletes work.
Jeez.
Our coach didn't allow it. He was like, "No, you cannot. Like, if you need money that bad, like, come talk to me." Um, but yeah, I think that if you can manage all that, you're gonna be all right. It'll teach you a lot of life lessons real quick.
Real quick. Yeah. And that's what a lot of these kids need.
Yeah,
Need to learn life lessons early.
yeah,
I try
it's
to push my
hard.
kids through them.
Yeah, because like even in high school, like disciplining kids, there's so many things that kind of like get in the way of you being authentic with these, kids, whatever
Hmm.
it is. And in college, it's like it's a little more raw. It's a little bit more real. So, because I don't get fired at high school if I don't win. It's not like my job's on the line. But as a college coach, you have two losing seasons, like you're
Yeah.
out.
Hmm.
So they're like, hey, like you got to perform or you're gonna leave, like, or
Yeah.
I'm gonna leave, whichever one happens first.
Yeah. I think it was a while back I had put a post up, and it's like, why, when you win, it's good job, the kids. Yeah, the coaches get a little praise, it's good job to the kids, but when you lose, coach, what are you doing? Coach, you got to figure something out. And it's like it sucks, but it's like that from youth all the way to professional.
Yeah, I mean, there are definitely some games like for high school, I go in there and I'm like, well, even if we played our absolute best game, we wouldn't win. Like with the talent that we have, right?
Mhm.
Um, in my head, it's always easy to coach from the stands. In
That's the easiest
hindsight,
place. Oh yeah.
everything look, oh,
Easy.
why didn't we do this? Well, guess what? Your daughter was having a panic attack in the dugout and she didn't want to go pitch. And then this other girl, she threw up just before that. And then you think about all these things that you're dealing with on the go, like as it's happening. And the
Hmm.
parents can sit there and say whatever they want, but at the end of the day, no one is begging for my job.
Hmm.
So,
At all.
yes. Yeah, no. They're
Oh,
not like, "Oh, can I please have it?" No, they're hiring somebody else because they don't wanna do it.
exactly. Yeah.
So, yeah,
Yeah, nah,
yeah.
head coaching is, I mean, and it sucks because a lot of people don't like to do it because of for the young ages because of the parents. Like I've heard a lot of people say, like, I'll coach, but I'm not gonna be the head coach. I don't want to deal with the parents. And it like it sucks because you have a lot of really good coaches that can do it, but the parents and
It's
yeah,
hard.
yeah, and
Yeah.
it's not all parents are like that, but you always have those one or two that can really mess it up. So, but it's good. So about having good parents, that's the one thing about
Yes.
it. Having good parents on the team because I know once recruiting start, coaches start looking at not only the kids, but they start looking at the parents and all that good stuff.
More than you think. More than you think. 'Cause they're like, "The apple doesn't fall far from that tree," and I know for
Mhm.
sure. And if they're gonna act like that, why would I want them, you know? Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that college coaches will even like. I mean, there was a guy that was saying, and I don't know if they do this in softball, but this is a baseball guy, okay? He said
Mhm.
that this guy was getting recruited. He was like one of the best players in their area. A college coach made a fake account, Instagram account that looked like a girl his age, followed him. Obviously, the dude was like, "Yeah, like I'll let this pretty
Mhm.
girl follow me, right?" Scrolled through all his stuff, saw every post, every message. I mean, not message, but every comment, whatever. They will go to links to see who you are as a person, to the point of like sitting in their car and waiting for you to see if you grab your bag or your mom and dad grabs it. How you treat your mom, how you treat your dad. Like all these things happen. And it's
Crazy.
because they don't want to risk that spot on someone that's a brat, or that doesn't think of themselves or thinks of somebody else before themselves. So yeah, I think it's again, I think also when you come to like coaching select, if you're a coach, you have to set boundaries. You cannot answer your phone 24/7. This is not a full-time job. This is a job that you do when practices, when you need to schedule stuff, and on the weekends. And scheduling those boundaries is important because it clears up here. You have a family. You have to go do all the things. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
yes, we can talk every once on the phone, but I'm not going to spend 4 hours on the phone per day with parents from select teams. I just can't. I don't have the time.
Right.
So it's a lot of passion. It's not like it's negative talk. It's just passion. I get
Mhm.
that, but boundaries are important, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Did you have any pregame rituals?
Um, kind of embarrassing ones. um,
Say kind
it's,
of embarrassing ones.
yeah, like in when we played in Corpus, like a home game, I would go to like the same breakfast place. I would eat there. I would like wear the same stuff underneath, like my, like the sliders and do all that kind of stuff. And I would try to keep it as uh clean as possible. As much as I knew like the routine that I had, I would try to keep that as much as possible. On the
Mhm.
road, you can only do your best. But yeah, I would do the same thing before every at bat. Um, People would make fun of me, but I don't care. And yeah, I was pretty like I was very ritual, like had a lot of rituals in high school, but they're very time consuming and kind of not like I can't do it all the time when I'm not in my space. So I kind of give some up. So, but yeah.
Okay, okay. Did you think that you would be a coach after college? And if so, what made you want to be a coach?
At first I was like, I'm too good for that. I was like, I'm
Mm.
gonna go be this big businesswoman, blah blah. And to the point, I am. I have my master's in business. I'm undergrad in marketing, and I use it. But to be a coach full time, I didn't think I was gonna do that. And then the select stuff happened. I ended up making some money. I was like, oh, that's easy money. I like it. You know what I mean? And then realized like God was putting this in front of me, like, hey, you're good at this. Like, hey, you love this. Hey, you have passion for this. Like, you should do this more. And then when we moved to Houston, I was working for a law firm and I was working from home and it was COVID, how weird COVID was.
Mhm.
And I just had a baby and I had stopped coaching completely because it was just too hard. It was too hard to manage the girls. They were, 1 and 2 and I was, lessons were hard because my husband traveled a lot. So, but once we kind of got out of that like thick baby phase, I bet you've been in it. You're still in it, like you're like, my brain's not working. Here we go again. But I quit my job. I was like, I hated it. And Brian was like, my husband, Brian was like, you should go coach at a private school. Like, you don't have your certification. I was like, I mean, I can try, like, might as well. And he was like, just go try. And then all of a sudden it was like, dude, this is exactly where I need to be. Like, what am I doing? Like, why did I waste all that time? So with the online stuff, I get to apply like my marketing and my business stuff and like trying to like capitalize on things. And at second, where my kids get to go to school and I get to see them all the time, it's just like really great, like quality of life.
Mhm.
And adding the select world has been a little crazier because it's a little bit more time at the ballpark, but I have a really great husband and he's like down. He's like, yeah, like we should do that for sure. Like you're happy, you love it. Like we're gonna make it work here at home. He does like he's like, "Dang, are you gonna come home yet?" And I'm like, "No, we lost. We gotta play 3 more back to back. Hold on." So, yeah,
That it's always good to have the spouses that have your back. I
for
can tell you that
sure.
much. I can tell you that much because I mean, mine thought I was crazy when I decided to start a podcast because she didn't know what it was. I didn't really know much about it. I just listened to podcasts all the time, and I heard on one of the podcasts, they was like, "If you want to start a podcast, you can just go on Spotify for podcasters. It's just audio. Send a link to somebody, and you can start it like that." And so I was like, that sounds like a good idea. And I just was like, well, I'm gonna just started off with few people that like I really knew, and then here I am now on YouTube live.
There you go. I know it's like it just takes a little effort, right? And you're like, "Okay, this
Mhm.
is fun. I wanna do it again. Oh, I wanna get better at it." And then you're
Yeah.
like, "Dang, like I'm getting some traction. Like this is
Hmm.
fun?" And then when it stops becoming fun, you just don't do it anymore. It's
Yeah,
just that
exactly.
simple. You find another
Hmm.
passion that you wanna do.
Yeah, yeah. Nah, I really like this is one thing that I really like doing. Like I don't even really listen to music. Like I just listen to podcasts, all kinds of different podcasts. So like that's just my life.
That's cool.
A podcast though, but I mean I really enjoy it. And like you said, you get meet a lot of new people, and that's exactly what I've done doing this. I've met tons of people that I didn't even know would follow me or anything like that. And they like, oh yeah, I see you do this, and I'm like, oh, okay. Thank
Sounds
you.
good, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. At what age should athletes start reaching out to coaches regarding their interests? Would you say Instagram or other social media would be like the biggest platform for them to do that?
I wouldn't do that on any social media platform. I would start emailing them about freshman year, letting them know that you exist, that you play, that you're playing in you play on this team. A lot of it's going to differentiate between what team you're on and like what your schedule is. So they can kind of put you in a category that can suit their needs or athletically by just who you play for. So if there's so many layers. You know what I mean? You have like your organizations, you have your mom and pop, places that oh yeah, we're, Barbie girl, bat busters or whatever. And those are not going to get, the best feedback when it comes to coaching.
Mhm.
The idea of having like a diamond in the rough and that is pretty slim. So what you want to do is you want to be on a good competitive team. You want to be in the best tournaments, and then you want to send those emails out saying like, this is who I am, this is the position I play, this is why, I'm interested in your program, come see me play. That's gonna be the first thing you're gonna want to do. when it comes to Twitter, um, less is more. I think that's like the biggest message I want to put out there. A lot of people are posting like, "Oh, my little girl did her workout today on the T," or "Oh, like she lifted this much," or "Oh," they don't care. They don't care. They don't care that they assume you're doing that anyway if you're gonna go play for them. So why would I need to see it online? I wouldn't tag anybody. I would direct message them if you're gonna hit them up on social media. I think there's like a really weird, like, I don't know, moral standard, ethic code. Minors messaging adults. I don't think that's like super great. So I
Gotcha.
would keep it more formal. I would keep it business. I would keep it on email. That's
Okay.
my 2 cents for that.
Okay. And like for the athletes, do you think that they should just, I mean, post their defensive hitting plays and stuff like that on their Instagram and just leave it at that?
Mm,
Or Instagram or Twitter, whatever social media site that
yeah.
they have.
If you want to make a Instagram account for your satisfaction,
Hmm.
post whatever you want. They don't care. But if you are trying to post to get recruited, I would post the most amazing plays you've ever posted in your whole life. The average ground ball to shortstop, throw to first, no one cares. Okay.
Hmm.
The 5-6 hole single that you hit, nobody cares. They want to see bombs. They want to see something big and bad. You know what I mean? So um I think you have to, and I work with this girl, Sherry, who only does recruiting. Okay. Like we are, two peas in a pod. We actually go live on Mondays on TikTok. You'll have to come hang out with us one night.
Yeah,
But
for sure.
basically we say all these things on there. Like, look, like if you're going to post something, you have to ask yourself, why are you going to post that? Is it for Patricia that is in HR that her daughter plays softball too and you want to show her that she did better than she did the last game? Or is it because that's really going to benefit your daughter getting recruited? Like those are the questions you have to ask yourself. A lot of times too, these girls are posting inappropriate like clothing doing these things. Like put a shirt on, like you're a minor. People are not understanding, like you were a minor. Like
Yeah.
you have to be so careful with how you're doing things and protect your kid. Like be a mom,
Mhm.
like protect your kid. Don't let them do that kind of stuff. So I would say home runs, yeah, post that, send a schedule out, make sure they know who you are, like meaning like, oh, I'm a shortstop, or I play third base, or I'm a catcher. If you are a first or third baseman, what we went over last live is don't put your first or third baseman. Say you're an infielder. Because when you put yourself in a category of first and third, you're saying I'm slow and I don't move well. But if I say I'm an infielder, I could be anything. I could be a second baseman. I could shortstop. I could be anything. And if you can't field, you better freaking wreck at the plate. Like raking balls over the fence because guess what? They can plop anyone at first base. They
Right.
don't care. They can teach
Mhm.
you that when you get to college. They need people to hit the ball. That's what they need. So if you're not an amazing glove work fielder, you don't have a golden glove, you better hit off the tee every freaking day of your life. So those are the things that I would say, unless you're like incredibly fast, like if you run like a
Mhm.
2.7 down the line, that'd be like in the subject line, like 2.7, 2027 graduation year, like home to first, blah, blah, blah. I would say
Mhm.
something like a lot of people that are fast, like that's something I would love to have. Um, the height, I don't think that really matters. I don't think it's like
I
something like
think so.
I'm a 6'2" pitcher, like, oh, that's something cool, but like it's not like a selling point like in basketball for softball people.
Mhm.
Like, okay, are you like a giraffe that can't move and that's why you have to play first base? Like, um, other things that people think that are important that are not important are stats. Oh, I hit 375 this fall. Against who?
Right.
Who cares? Like, we don't know what that means. I can't define that. So don't post it. Um, yeah, stuff like that. I mean, you have to give yourself a little bit more. Just inviting them to the games is the most important because once they see you play and they know what team you're on, they're like, I recruited 3 girls from that team last year. I like that team. I'm gonna go see her
Mhm.
play. And if you don't hear anything, they're not interested. That's kind of another like rule I would say. Like you're gonna get recruited by whatever level you are. So if let's just say there's 5 teams in Impact Gold. Okay, I'm making this up. Okay, this is like just like an example. Okay, there's like the national team. There's like basically gold, silver, bronze, whatever.
Hmm.
The last team,
Yeah.
black. Okay.
Yeah.
If they've recruited from the gold team, 5 people, and you're on the black team, okay, they know how many layers are before what they recruit.
Hmm.
So they're like, no thanks. You know what I mean? And they're not going to
Yeah.
respond because they don't have time to. So
Mhm.
it really depends on what team you're on.
Yeah. Oh no, that's man, that's a good way to put it. Because a lot of people is go for the team name and the organization name and like me, I'm like okay, like I get it, but yeah, man, it's okay to play against those names too. you know,
Well, and
they
some people do get recruited like that. They're like, "Oh yeah, I
yeah.
was playing this random team. Like they saw me play. I did really
Hmm.
good. They were interested." That's why it's
Yeah.
so important to always show out, whether there's someone there to see you or not, because you don't know really
Hmm.
who's like watching. Now,
Exactly.
that's the exception, not the rule. We don't get everyone's hopes up that that's going to happen to
Yeah.
them,
Exactly.
but yeah, it could happen. It totally could. That happened to a girl that played for me one season. She like randomly went to go help a team. I was like, "Yeah, of course, go." She got recruited by Arkansas that weekend, played for
Mhm.
University of Arkansas, and she was committed to Incarnate Word in San Antonio. So like, yeah, I'm gonna go to Arkansas. Like that makes
Yeah.
total sense. And she was
Mhm.
good. She's very athletic, very athletic. But what's so crazy too is like whatever you get recruited doesn't mean you're gonna play that position. Like so, if you were a
Right.
shortstop in high school, a lot of shortstops become outfielders
On
or second
second base.
basemen.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Mhm.
yeah, there's a lot of things that go on when it comes to recruiting, like the message you're putting out there, the branding that you're doing for yourself, just your grades in general. That you want to make sure that that's not like something that's hurting you. It's like either not making them think twice or helping. You know what I mean? Like the one or the other, not hurting. A lot of like I guess the stereotype back in like the 80s and 90s was like, oh, I'm dumb jock. Like I'll get to go to school because I'm good at sports. They don't care anymore. You have to be smart and good at sports.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so some things like that I would really take in consideration. Like if you ever need help with that, like Sherry, she has a whole business that she does, and she just basically gives free advice online on Mondays with us, and then she also gives free evaluations. So like she'll meet up with you and be like, hey, like tell me your story, and she'll basically say, I can help you, sign up, or no, I can't help you. I'm so sorry. You're too far gone.
Mm. Well, at least she won't, tell you a lie.
She will not lie to you.
Like a lot of people will, oh yeah, tell you they can do this and do that, and then it's like 2 years after later, and they haven't helped you.
No. She
So
Yeah, she really prides herself on her return on investment, you know.
mhm.
She'll also help you with like after, like say you want to transfer or whatever. She'll help you with that kind of stuff, which is nice. But yeah, no, she's not the person one to mess with and two to BS anyone. So, cuz her name's on it.
You're right. Yeah.
Yeah,
So it comes back to her in some type of way.
totally.
Hmm.
It's not worth the risk. That's what she says, it's not worth it.
Mm, got you. So, like my daughter team, they're starting, to talk about the recruitment. They last second year 12U, but going into 14U next year. So they starting to talk about the whole recruiting stuff. And we heard a lot about, the effects of how, like we said earlier, social media can hurt you or help you. So can you give or tell us like serious issues that's about that situation, like the social media?
I would say I mean, yeah, anything that you post can be interpreted however that person reads it, right? How it's like a text message, And so I would be very careful to post really anything that's not positive or like nothing basically nothing that has anything political, anything with drinking, alcohol, drugs, obviously, anything that just insinuates you're being promiscuous on any levels.
Mhm.
Um, I would also just make sure that a lot of times people do research on how often the parents are starting drama online. So
Mhm.
that would also be something I would be aware of as a family unit. Like, what are you putting your whole life out there? Like, are you just like? I would always say like the rule is like if they're posting all the time, a lot of stuff, one, isn't true, or two, it's like for attention, you know?
Mhm.
So things that you want to post, or you can always, brag about your daughter or son. I get that. People want to say like, oh, all honors or whatever. That makes sense, that kind
Yeah.
of stuff. But little Jimmy went 0 for 3, but lined out 3 times and he posts that. That's not it. That's not it. Um, and I would just always have in the back of your head, why are you posting it? What makes sense for you at that moment?
Mhm.
And how would anyone interpret it?
Mhm.
And that's really hard for a 16-year-old. Mom, it's not bad. It's not good either.
Mhm.
That's what I would
Mhm.
say. It's not good either because I am looking at this like, yeah, that's my daughter. She's in a bikini at her party and everyone else's bikinis, but it looks like you're trying to sell yourself, And so, and that's just one example, right? And
Mhm.
unfortunately, girls have to be a lot more careful. But you're basically, if you want to play in college, you're signing up for a job that you want in 4 years. And what are you going to put out there? And once it's out there on the internet, it is forever out there. You
Yeah.
cannot take it back. You cannot
Mhm.
control what anyone does with a screenshot, with a voice recording, whatever.
Yep.
So,
Mhm. And
yeah.
a lot of times that screenshot gets done really fast.
Yeah, and I've always kind of like I had a Snapchat like maybe in my 20s, like it was more basically just like social stuff with my like friends,
Mhm.
but at the end of the day, like a lot of that stuff is being misused, and I just don't think I will not allow my daughters to have that, you know. I don't really think that any kid needs social media. I really don't. Like up until like maybe 16, I really don't think that they need it. I think it's more like tempting. There's a lot of bad people online. Like it's hard. It's a hard world. It's a very like hard balance, between yeah, this little girl wants to have a Twitter. It doesn't need to sound like her dad's writing every tweet. Oh, another thing that they should not do ever is post like, "Oh, we went to camp here. Oh, we just got done with camp at the University of Arkansas." Like, cool. Like that you didn't get invited to that camp. You just paid to go. It makes
Mhm.
them look, I don't want to say thirsty. I want to say like desperate for attention. Like the stuff you get in the mail. Everyone gets stuff in the mail. It's a marketing scheme. Like, there's a whole list of girls that played at a high school camp that said, "Oh yeah, I potentially want to play in college," and they're getting them stuff. So no one's getting invited. You know how you're getting invited personally? Someone's calling your select coach and they're saying, "Hey, I want Nancy to come to this camp."
Mhm.
Cool,
So
Nancy will
nothing.
be there.
So
It's
you don't get invited to camps by email. I mean, by emails
snail
and stuff
mail.
like that.
No,
No.
think about it. If a college coach really wanted you, would they really trust the U.S. Postal Service? Come on. Does that make any sense? I mean, do you think if you really think about it,
Yeah.
if you were the recruit that they wanted, you know
They
what?
gonna write it, wait for a few days,
It's
and
2024. We should mail it. We should mail the invitation like a party. No, they're going to call someone, and that person's going to call that person, and then they're going to make it work. So
Mhm.
even when they email you, and it's like, "Oh yeah, they could come to our camp." That's not an invitation. That's just like an open line that they have to say because it has to be open to the public. These camps, especially the ones in January that are coming up right now. There's a lot of camps that are going to happen. Some of them are private. They can't be private, but some of them are, invite only. Some of them are elite recruiting. A lot of these guys right here,
Mhm.
elite recruiting camps. So,
Okay.
don't ever post like that. I think it's silly. It makes you look silly.
No.
Sorry.
Okay. Well, I know that. I know that since I'm coming up to those type of things. I
Yeah,
know
and your
now.
kid will get a lot. Your kid will get a lot of invitations in the mail. We have this
Mhm.
camp coming up. We have this camp coming up. You know what those camps pay for?
What's that?
Take a guess. Take a guess what those camps pay for.
Maybe for the season, for the college, for the softball players, maybe.
The assistant coach's salary.
Oh. Oh.
It's a
I would never
fundraiser.
guess that.
Yeah, they got
Oh
to pay their
wow.
coaches, and they don't have the money, so they have to raise money for them.
Oh wow, that's crazy. I would have thought it would have been maybe for traveling, stuff like that.
I
I
mean,
would have
maybe
thought it
some of
would
it
have been
goes
for that.
there, but majority it's for the assistant
Majority.
coaches. Yeah.
Mm,
Their budgets are tiny. This is the other thing that they were saying. It's like, dude, their budgets are not, people just aren't throwing money at these programs, they still they are basically being pigeonholed because of all the NIL stuff, all the transfer portal stuff. They're spending countless money on getting these transfer portal kids to come on these visits. They're expensive. They have to fly them there, fly them back. There's only so much time, blah, blah, blah. And these college coaches are like, dude, we're running out of money. They don't have enough money. So the NIL money is from a third party. It's not from the college.
Right, right, yeah.
So it's not like all this NIL money is coming from the University of Texas or University of whatever. It's from a booster that is excited about the program. So when people sit back and they really think about how all of it works, it's just getting more and more expensive. Also, they have to travel. Like, I mean, if you look at any of this stuff, like they have to travel a lot in their conference. So all of it's, I don't know. It just, if you really look at all of it, it all makes sense. I have a whole like list of videos where I show you like where they're recruiting from and how habitual like coaches are. It's pretty normal. I mean, it makes total sense. It's not rocket science.
Wow.
So, yeah, if you ever like basically I take the rosters of like 5 years, break it down, look at where they played, mostly club ball, right? None of them make sense when it comes to high school ball, but club ball makes sense. And you look at them like, okay, they've only recruited out of these many states, this many select teams in the last 5 years. That's it. The same coach has been there for 5 years. Okay. And you're like, oh, okay, that makes sense. It's like, yeah, it's not murder, not rocket science.
That's a really good information to know that. Like
Well, it's like
I
if you're a
wouldn't have
little
never thought
girl,
about it.
yeah, if you're a little girl in Tennessee, okay, let's just set the scene, okay?
Mhm.
Little Cindy wants to play at the university, UCLA, okay? If you look at UCLA, and I'm making this up, I don't know off the top of my head where they've recruited from. I have it listed somewhere on my phone, whatever. But they have not recruited one girl in the last 5 years from Tennessee. What are your odds?
Mhm.
So you either have to go play on a team that isn't in Tennessee. You have to go travel to like California or whatever
Right.
to get recruited to break the standard of where they're recruiting from. Because really they're recruiting from California, but you just live there and you're commuting. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Or you go pick a different college that you want to go play at. Because they're not going to even know you exist. Because they don't recruit out of Tennessee. Because guess what? They've had luck somewhere else. And they can only look at so many states and so many amount of times. 7 weeks in the summer. I forget how many weeks in the fall. It's not that much. Not much time.
Mm. Why do you think there's more men coaching softball than women?
Because they couldn't make it in baseball. I'm just like, I don't know. I don't know. I think too, like there's a lot of women have babies, women,
Oh,
women have to be moms and they're usually the primary caregiver. So I mean, I find myself like, okay, who's gonna take my kids? Well, I want to go coach.
Mhm.
So I would say there is a love obviously for baseball guys to come over because they're like, dang, these girls listen, like
Mhm.
they're not
True.
fighting the egos, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
I don't know. I think it's great. I mean, the daddy ball thing that people complain about all the time. It's like, yeah, if we didn't have dads coaching, we wouldn't have the game. So stop complaining. Yeah, some of them do suck. Don't get me wrong. Okay. But if we didn't have that, where would the game be before that? Nowhere. Because we don't have enough women doing it,
Right.
you know?
Mhm.
So shout out to all the guys that are doing it because we can't.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm starting to see more women in the youth sports in the youth softball, like more and more than when I first started. I'm starting to see more women coming out there, and it's a good thing because a lot of these girls they look up to them. So even if they
Totally.
just come and grab not one of the high top level teams, get one of the lower level teams, like it's just about giving back when maybe you don't have anything to do, you don't want to have kids or nothing like that. Go and give back to the youth.
Yeah, and I think too, like, okay, so I'm 36. I mean, we had kids later, but like, what I'm trying to say is like, if I had kids right out of college, right, I couldn't have had the coaching thing.
Right.
But then my kids would have been this
Mhm.
age, 10 or 11, whatever. So I think too, like as our generation of these like millennials that played, we're like, oh wow, like we are kind of steamroll, like we're gaining some ground on the softball world. Like we should be able to give back and do all these things. But it does make it hard because the select world is so freaking nuts with the scheduling. We have to play every other weekend. You play all weekend. you don't go home from the 8 a.m. game till the 9 p.m. game.
Right.
And then you have to do it all over again on Sunday, right? So now they're making it where like you play your pool games, you play one game, whether you win or lose that pool game, I mean that bracket game, you go
Mm-hmm.
home. So you can play all day Sunday. Why aren't we
Yeah.
playing like a lot Saturday
So you don't have to play that much
and
on
like a
Sunday.
little Sunday?
Yeah.
That's what they used to be.
Mm.
But for me, I'm like, I'd rather get home late Saturday and then get home like one tournament we got home at like I don't know, 11, 12. Like, I mean, even I mean, I know you know the Causies, like, they live in Austin. They had to drive all the
Yeah.
way back to Austin. I don't know. It doesn't make
Mm-hmm.
sense. I don't like it. And obviously, if I'm a mom and I don't have a supportive, like, spouse, I
Right.
can't swing that.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I think that's like the way it's set up. It's not ideal for only if you're single or you don't have kids.
Hmm. Yeah, I know about those late rides home. I mean, when we first started off, my daughter was on team in San Antonio. We was living in Laredo, so we would
Oh,
have to
yeah.
drive all the way back. And her AU team used to play out here in Houston, so we would have to drive from here all the way back to Laredo, and on the late Sunday, and then even from here to Houston to San Antonio late on Sunday, be getting home at like midnight. And oh, you going to school in the morning too, by the way.
Yeah, because I'm having to go to work. Yeah, we're doing
Yeah,
this.
exactly.
Yeah, we're doing this. Yeah, I
Hmm.
think that I don't think that travel ball has the kids' best interests set up for success when it comes to wear and tear on the body, overusage. Like we should be playing less games, more quality games. I don't have the answer. I don't know what the answer is to solve that. I just think like there's some girls on our team that just couldn't their bodies were telling them stop, stop,
Hmm.
and they weren't listening because of course like they're like, I'm young, it doesn't matter. And then it was like, okay, I can't play at all. When we were playing back in the day, it sounds so stupid, but we got breaks. We took off all
Hmm.
of like August and September. We didn't touch a ball. Like you couldn't even do anything. You know what I mean? And I think that plus like obviously just taking care of your body, like it keeps you okay. You know what I mean? Throughout the time. I know, like, I don't know if the statistic is still true, but like they said, like more freshmen are spending time in the training room than they are on the field because of overuse and under treatment, not going to the doctor to get their arm looked at when it's actually like physically hurting.
Hmm.
There's a difference between soreness
Soreness
and
and
injury.
yeah, big difference.
Totally, totally.
Hmm. So, what is your take on picking up? I know certain organizations have the rule where you can't pick up, or you can pick up inside the organization, not outside the organization. So, what's your take on that?
I think we've done it. I don't have any problem doing it, especially if it's like an injury thing. Like, hey, XYZ person's hurt. We need for specialty positions, like
Hmm.
pitcher catcher, basically. I mean, I think that's like a no brainer. You want to do well. You want to have success and not have seven other people on the team be affected in a negative way because you didn't pick up the right player.
Hmm.
Do I think that it should be excessive every weekend? No. When it comes to picking up, you have to be cautious. You have to make sure that you set the right expectations for the players that are getting picked up, for the people that are on the team originally. Like, hey, this girl's just picking up this weekend. Like, and then also the batting order, like it needs to be a little bit more political about that. Like, she's not going to bat first, or anything right now. Now, championship game, she's hit like 7 home runs. You're like, okay, like, I mean, y'all be pissed if I didn't hit batter fourth, like,
Right.
so
Yeah.
I think you have to kind of play it and like read the room. Do I think that it could be mm, misused or abused? Yes. I think you have to have, again, communication, understanding, playing the narrative, getting ahead of the narrative of like, hey, look, we needed a pitcher. Like, I don't want to go a whole 10 games and not have a third pitcher. Like, it
Right.
makes total sense.
Mhm.
Um, and a lot of times girls, when they pick up, they're either on a team they have no interest in being on your team, or they're kind of like doing a little tryout.
Mhm.
It's important, I think, at the end to thank them, but give them a little bit of a review, like, hey, this is what, like if they say like, oh, what do you think about my daughter? Well, I saw these things. I think that she could be better here, but ultimately, I'm just like really glad she played, and kind of give them just, I don't know, being honest as you can, but you can start some drama with that, and you have to be very, very careful.
Yeah.
So, um, yeah, that is my 2 cents on that.
Hmm. Yeah, they have some teams that don't even get pick up enough girls just so they can pick up every time they touch a softball field.
See, to me, that like that hurts your budget too. Like you want a consistent 11, 12 girls paying the dues,
Hmm.
making and getting better. Like
Yeah.
how do you like manufacture a really great team if you're not making progress on each individual person? And it's
Hmm.
hard because we only practice twice a week, when
Yeah.
we're in season. And 11 girls, 3 hours, like it's just not that much. I was like
Hmm.
3-hour practice with 11-year-olds, like god, that sounds terrible. God, it goes by so fast.
Fast, yeah, real
Oh, we gotta
fast.
do this, we gotta do this, we gotta do this, we gotta do it was really twice a month because we were playing all the other months or all the other weekends. And not everybody makes the week practices, because they live so far away.
Hmm. Gotcha.
So
What's your thoughts on like high school ball versus select ball, and which do you think is like the most important, or is there any one that's more important than the other one?
That's a funny question. High school at the softball convention, they fight. Like they got in a big fight with all the select world people because they think that it's like a corruption between them playing high school ball, them playing club ball, whatever. Here's my 2 cents on it. I think that it's important for you to play with your community. Now, what I
Mhm.
have learned over TikTok is a lot of people. So there's out of 50 states, one state plays in the summer. Okay. That sucks for
Mhm.
them because the recruiting process is all during the summer. So they can't even play high school ball because if they want to play college ball, they cannot miss out on those weeks. Okay. So that's
Mhm.
kind of like that's the exception for them. 4 other people play in the fall. No, that's right. Wrong. 5 or 6. I can't remember. There's like 5 or 6 states that have their league in the fall for high school.
Mhm.
That also affects them because all the recruiting process is done in the fall, right? Fall or summer. Okay. So for them, they have a really tough choice to make. Okay. I don't know what they do because I don't have that problem. When we're in the
Mhm.
spring here, we play high school ball. There's no travel ball going on. It
Right.
totally shuts down. Right.
Mhm.
So I don't have people fighting me like, I want to go to my club team. Well, guess what? No one's doing anything for clubs. So you're lying. Like, where are you actually going? So I would say it's important for you to play for your community. If your high school season does not, they're not going to come to your high school games. They're just not. They're going to go to the club ones because there's more kids playing at the club ones. So I'm not saying it can happen. There is exceptions to every rule, but at the end of the day, if you want to get recruited and you're in those 6 states that you don't play in the spring, you're going to have to make a hard decision. If you are, you should play for your high school team. Some
Mm.
people are not playing because they think they're too good. No, you're not. You're not too good. Why wouldn't you want to be the best? Why wouldn't you like get like all the home
Right.
runs?
Mhm.
Oh well, I'm
Big
gonna get
star player.
worse. No, you're not gonna get worse. You're gonna get worse because you suck, not because your high school team sucks. Oh, we get bad habits. Well, then be better. I don't know. Like, stop doing
Yeah.
that then.
Yeah, exactly. How do you get bad habits? Like, why are you should be teaching them, they shouldn't be teaching you if
Yeah,
you're
like what do you
better.
then you're that like there you can get manipulated that bad.
Yeah,
Like
that's
then you shouldn't go play college ball. You
yeah,
know?
because if that's the case, when you go to college, you're gonna be at them parties and you're not gonna be
Yeah, don't
practicing and working out.
that's crap. That's what I say. That's crap. But yeah, I think that for those 5 or 6 states, it's hard. It's hard for them. They have to make a choice. And I think those college or high school coaches know that. They're like, I can't provide a recruiting experience at a high school game. They can't.
Mhm.
The University of Georgia, University of Alabama, the University of, whatever, Oklahoma, is not going to go all to one high school game to see one kid.
Right.
They're going to go to a whole complex to see hundreds of kids.
Mhm.
It's a numbers game. Come on,
Yeah.
let's be real. It makes total sense. So yes, that sucks for those states.
Mhm. Yeah. Dang. Y'all need to move states.
Yeah, sorry. It's a weather thing, honestly. I mean, for the other
Mm.
states, it's nothing but weather, but it does suck. I'm
Yeah.
so sorry for them.
Hmm. So, what's your biggest pet peeve as a coach?
Like whining and like being lazy. That's like really annoying to me.
Me
Or like
too,
the
as a
excuses of
parent.
like, well, I don't care. Like it is so refreshing to be like, "Oh, man, I missed that one." Yeah, you did.
Mhm.
And like there was a girl. There was a girl on my team and she was just like a freak of nature. Like she didn't practice at all softball, but she sure was good. And this high school, okay?
Mhm.
She had the most unorthodox swing, like all the things. But she was great. She was great at what she does. So I didn't touch her. I was like, you just do you. She's very athletic, blah, blah, blah. But when she didn't do good, she'd be the first one to say it. Like she didn't have any like um she didn't care. You know what I mean? She just was like, look, I screwed up. My bad. Like, oh shit, I should have swung at that one. Like that was stupid, and you're just like, that was really high. Like that was
Mhm.
not your pitch. But because she gave herself that like out, like, hey, look, that sucked. I'll, just she moved on really fast. It's the
Mhm.
girls that make and fester and like make excuses for themselves that don't bounce back fast. For me, that's what I see.
Okay.
So the laziness or the lack of effort or the excuses that are made. Um, the immediate crying, oh, we gotta nip that in the bud. Yeah, like it's just that's tough. I get it. I'm a crier at times. Don't get me wrong. Frustration's real, but we have to realize like this is not who we are. It's what we do. It's not. It doesn't have to be bigger than the moment. So, but yeah, that kind of stuff. I think like people that try, I'm like, dude, I'll give you 100 tries. If you're trying, I know you are. Like I saw you. Like thank you so much, kind of thing. And they're like, I am, and I'm like, okay, you're still terrible, but you sure are trying. So I love that. I love that about athletes that can really do that. Yeah, I would say I'm very patient with people that try or give
Mhm.
effort.
How much fun, like, you seem like a person that's very, jokingly. So how much fun do you have, like, along with the girls? But at the same time, when it's game time, it's time to play to make sure they're, in the right place.
Yeah, there's like a whole generational issue sometimes with my jokes. I'm like, that didn't hit. Like, I'm so sorry. I'm joking. I'm joking. I'm not mad at you. Like you have to explain it and you're
Mhm.
like, okay, I can't do that with that group. Um, I we try to make it as especially at school because like they don't have to play softball. Like we try to make it really fun and like even with the 12U girls, like we're like, do you want to do this? Or, like let's play a game. And that's really what we're learning like a lot in these coaches conventions. And like we gotta take the seriousness away because they're already putting so much pressure on themselves to be
Yeah.
so great all the time.
Mhm.
So it's like, okay, let's play a game. And you're still doing all the skill sets that you're trying to accomplish in a like a hardcore drill. You're just putting like fluff on it for the athlete to be like, "Oh wow, this is fun." So you see athletes actually relax, you see them, play a little bit better than they would. You see them trying a little bit harder because they don't want to lose, like they're all competitive. I have like a very non-competitive team in high school one year and I was like, "Oh my god, like what are we going to do with these girls? Like they don't even care about the game." Like we did with my 12s, I'm gonna have a baby in June, and so we did these like balls, and they
Mhm.
had to toss them up and hit them. And when they tossed them up and hit them, like it was the gender reveal of like what it was gonna be, and that was really fun. And it gives you like you can be creative as you want to as a coach, and that's effort. Don't get me wrong; you have to put a lot of effort
Mhm.
into it. Like your practice plans have to be better. You can't just say like, "Hey, we're doing the same 5 drills we did last week." Like it's got to be thought out, but it goes a long way. And they're always like, "Are we gonna play a game at the end?" I'm like, "I don't know. We'll see how far we get." And I'm like, "Of course we're gonna play." In my head, I'm like, "Of course we're gonna play a game. I
Yeah.
want to play the game. Like, I don't want to do these stupid drills anymore. Like, they suck." But yeah, we try to keep it. They're still 11 years old. They're
Mhm.
12 years old. They care about you. You care about them. Like you want them to love it and come back and not feel like they're getting yelled at every 5 seconds. And
Yeah.
there was one tournament that they were like, "Wow, like I'm really actually having fun." And I'm like, "It is so sad that you have to say that. Like you should feel that way no matter what." Don't get me wrong. There are
Mhm.
times where I'm like, "Let's go." Like you're not it's more of a focus thing.
Yeah.
Like we're kind of all over the place. Like what are we thinking right now? Like why are we not focusing on this? Like I'm telling you the
Mhm.
answer. The answer is swing like at the first pitch, like so I always tell my parents like we don't get to pick when they get it. We just get to be consistent with what we're telling them, right? And we know eventually it's gonna hit. It's gonna fall in those, and it's gonna work. But you can't get frustrated with them. You can't seem like you've given up on them, you know? And keeping it fun is like number one. It has to be, especially in youth sports. Like, what are we talking about? Like, aren't we doing this for fun?
Yeah. That's what I
Like,
thought.
don't worry. Patty Gasso is not worried about what you hit at 12U. She don't care. She don't care. So
Not even gonna ask you a question about 12 years.
she's gonna be like, "Hey, did you have fun? Like, do you still love the game? Like,
Mhm.
because if they don't, what are we doing this for? It's so stupid."
Yep. And I think that's what, and I mean, maybe some coaches they forget about that part, and then
Mm,
maybe parents forget about that part also because parents want their kids to be perfect.
yeah, yeah.
That's not realistic. Like that's not like realistically nobody's perfect. It's not gonna happen.
Well, I think this is just my opinion. Okay, this has like
Mhm.
not been proven, but like I think that parents, in a general sense, want a return on their investment. They want to pay for the lesson, pay for the team, see the
Mhm.
win, see the reward, see the prize.
Mhm.
And for a lot of people, it doesn't happen that way or that fast. I always try to set a standard when I get a new lesson. I'm like, hey, if you're trying to change something, it's going to take at least 6 months for us to make something a habit, from X to Y, whatever, whatever.
Right.
And if I say that, they're not expecting me to do a 30-minute lesson and fix them
Mhm.
because it's physically impossible. And if they did
Right.
do well the next game, I'm like, girl, that was all you. I had nothing to do with that. Maybe confidence, but that was really it.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I think that's kind of like where people are at. Like, I've done all this time, I'm spending all this money. Why aren't you good? It's like, well, because I'm 11 and I just want a burger after this. I'm not really thinking about this that bad. I'm really hungry right
You're right.
now. We
Hmm.
mic'd the girls up one game.
Hmm.
The stuff that they think about,
Oh
like,
yeah, I've done that.
I'm
Yikes.
like, y'all are so simple. Like, it's just like, okay, make me feel good, and I want to play for you. Cool, I can do that. Give me the tools, and I'll try my best. And
Hmm.
I mean, I don't know if you played like any sports, but like even girls that are really great have bad days, have bad outings, have bad
Hmm.
tournaments. Like it's not like we throw out the baby with the bathwater. I mean, geez Louise, like that happened. No one will be playing.
Nobody, right? Exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, some grace. Like let's all chill. It's all good.
Hmm.
It's not like, hey, I'm gonna take your phone away because you struck out 3 times. It's like, let's go hit when we get, tomorrow
Yeah,
or
exactly.
whatever. Like
That's it.
what's the more rational way to like respond?
Hmm.
Or like, hey, you need a break. You're thinking too much. Like, let's go get some ice cream, or whatever.
Forget it. Yeah, because
Yeah,
they have to be kids, and I think a
totally.
lot of them forget. Maybe them, the ones that's really focused, that's into it. I think they might forget that they're kids at times too, because they want to
Yeah,
do so good. And I mean, I get it, but like, just scratch all of that. Forget about everything that happened. First of all, you can't press rewind. We're only going forward. So let's
totally.
forget all of that. Let's go do something else. Then we'll come back. We'll have to regroup. It's time to regroup.
Yeah, totally. Like the reset button. I even saw like this one guy who was like, we have like a reset button in our dugout. Like we have like a toilet where we flush all of like our bad energy down. Like not like a real toilet, but like a fake one,
Yeah.
whatever.
Hmm.
Like something where they're physically like hitting something and moving forward. And I'm like, I'll try anything. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like sometimes I just like, all right, give me all your bad energy. Like give it to me. I'm gonna kick it out of this place. And they're like, okay. Like they're kind of like, oh, I'm too cool for this. I'm like, no, you are not doing good right now. Like give me whatever you got in that head of yours. So yeah, I think girls we're such thinkers. Even this one guy, his name is Eugene. He was like, coaching girls is the easiest because they listen and they learn and they want to please you. But the problem is they're trying to please you so much, they lose sight of what actually feels good and what makes sense to them. And even when you're a stupid coach and you're saying stupid stuff, they'll still do it the way you're saying it to make you happy, to please you, even though the way that they did it before was actually more beneficial to them. So
Hmm.
we as coaches have to be super careful with how we're training girls and asking like, would that feel like? How would you say that in your own words? Like, what do you think that would be best for you next time at the plate? Instead of giving them like yell and tell answers, you know?
Hmm.
And that takes patience and kindness. Don't get me wrong. Sometimes I'm like, how do you not know this answer? Like, get your act together. Like, we only said it 70 times. Like, but you don't get to pick when they get it. You just get to pick to be consistent. So, and loving. It's so crazy. Like some of these girls just like hug you and you're just like, are you okay? Yeah. I'm like, okay. I'm sorry. Did you need that earlier today and I didn't read the body language? Like, I'm so sorry.
Mhm.
So yeah, you never know what's going on in their lives, their
Their
home
life,
lives.
yeah.
Like,
Mhm.
yeah, it's crazy. Like a lot of coaches say that they'll get like a vent session from their kid, like the kid on the team. They realize their parents are splitting up. They got all this stuff going on. And it's not,
Mhm. Yeah.
no one is living in paradise when it comes to
Right.
certain things. And you have to keep that in mind too, you know?
Mhm. Yep, I agree with that. Going into next season, what's one thing you would want to tell your team, both of them?
Um, the 12s would be to think of it as like a buildup to a goal rather than like having, I mean, I know they all want to win every tournament and that's great. That's a great goal, but there's like has to be more fail and learn. Like we're yelling
Mhm.
and telling a lot, you know, and I'm like, okay, well, how are you going to know what to do in your 14s if I tell you the answer every time? So we're going to kind of slow down that process and kind of be like, what do you think it was?
Mhm.
And then just sit there and have them really kind of think about it. I think the game in the select world is so rushed. It's timed. You have to go back to the next game. You got to felt the, you know, like I always feel like I'm rushed.
Mhm.
So I would like to slow down that process and let them kind of learn a little bit more about themselves and about the game rather than win, 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 you know? Um, that's going to be hard though. That's going to be very hard to keep up with.
Mhm.
With the high school team, we are very like young. We have a very young roster. We have 6 freshmen, 1 senior, and then the rest are like in the mid.
Mhm.
So to it's just about them getting better individually and learning who they are. Really, it's not the goal for us always is just like to make playoffs and see what happens. It's never like, oh my gosh, we have to do this or we have to get over 500 winning. Like, you know, a lot of those girls, they're just doing it for fun. So I want them to get something out of it outside of just softball, learn how much, you know, teamwork and hard work pays off, all the things, you know. But really, it's going to be about uh, our main focus, I guess, too, is like team building and culture and building up that and knowing, like, hey, look, like this is just bigger than a win and a loss. Like, yes, of course, we want to win. I always say we have more fun when we're winning. Don't get me
Yeah.
wrong. But at the end of the day, like I want y'all to be leaders. I want you to go out here and know like I'm this confident myself because of I did these really hard things. You
Mhm.
know? So that would be the 2 kind of like main things I'm looking forward to this spring. It's gonna be a hard spring though. It's gonna be a hard spring.
Oh, I bet.
'Cause we
I
have
bet.
I this is the first time I've done club and high school
And
ball.
yeah.
And I decided to get pregnant. Way to go, Mark.
Yeah,
Yeah. So I
good
threw
job.
a little spicy one in there, but I have really great I have 2 guys that work with me on the club team. They're great. They're
Mhm.
like so different than me, which is like awesome. And then on my high school team, I have really great coaches that work with me too. So I'm not doing it by myself. I'm not a one man show by
Mhm.
any means. Like I couldn't do it. Like even not pregnant, I was like, no, I'm not doing that. So it's been really nice to like kind of collab with some people, understand. Like there's a guy that's worked with these girls for a long time. He knows them in and out.
Mhm.
And he'll tell me like, hey, she has a tendency. And then I'll be like, all right, cool. Like, let's work with that. But understand people change, you know, and then we have like a really heartfelt, like loving guy that'll take people aside and like give them the attention that they need that I don't really have to give when we're in a game situation. So
Mhm.
it's all about a balance. I think if you can find the right people to work with as a coach, it makes you a better coach. And you're always learning, you know. Even
Mhm.
coming back into club ball, I'm like, "God, these rules are stupid. Like they changed the rules up a little bit. I'm like, what? We can bat everybody? That's so silly. You know, like why
Yeah.
aren't we just batting
Uh,
9 or flex
yeah.
CP? Like, but and every sanction is like a little different too. And you're
Different.
like,
Mhm.
so anyway, but yeah, I'm really excited about the spring. I think it's gonna be fun. I love the difference between the high school girls and the 11s or 12s that we are because they have a whole different like perspective. You know, like
Mhm.
they're more intense in regards of playing the game, but they're still 11 years old. So the
Yeah.
silliness, the joking, they want to make like every trending video on TikTok. And I'm like, okay, well, y'all gonna have to practice because y'all are not that good at that one.
They want everything to blow up.
Oh,
Every
for
video.
sure, for sure.
Oh no. So what's some short or long and long term goals you have for your teams?
Well, the culture thing is a really big deal at the high school. That's like a really big deal for me. We've struggled building it. It's hard. We have a small program. Like there's only
Mhm.
400 kids in the high school and half of those are boys. So you're really working with a really small sample size. And for me, this will be the first year to have those girls the whole time, I guess, without them being mine the whole time,
Mhm.
you know? So that's something I'm just really trying to work on the culture there and understand like I love y'all. I want y'all to be comfortable. I don't want it to be a job here. Like it should be fun here, kind of just finding that balance. Um Long term, it would be to get past the third round. I think that's how far we've gone. And we just need to get to the fourth round to get to the tournament. So like that would be awesome. It all kind of depends on the ebb and flow of the talent level that we get at the school. So
Mhm.
something really we can help. It just kind of what comes in.
Right.
Um, that would be something that would be really cool. Like if I could put like a win-loss record on it. I don't really care what our win-loss record is. I schedule a lot of hard games in the preseason just because
Mhm.
it makes the most sense. There is like this other team. I'm like, I'm not gonna schedule you again because they're all like really good. Like I was like, we're never gonna see someone in our district that way. Like thank you, but no thanks. Um, so for the 12 or the 11s, whatever we are, we played. I know, like I want to say 12s, but everyone's like, you're 11. So I'm like, whatever. The 2013s that we
Yeah,
have,
there you go.
we got first or second almost in every tournament. One tournament got rained out, so we didn't know what we were gonna get, but we were kind of like in the losers bracket. But I was like, oh my gosh, y'all are like really good. Like I knew they were good, but it's like different when you are winning all the time.
Yeah.
And so for them, it would definitely be on the offensive side. We did not really show out at the plate in the fall. We
Mhm.
struggled. We moved back to 40 feet, so that's harder. Just like the
Mhm.
distance stuff. Our pitching did great. We have these awesome pitchers. We love them all. Fielding, I mean, I'm like, dang girl, you made that play. That's so cool. Like good for you. So it really wasn't that. It wasn't defense. It was really just offense. We couldn't put the runs up that we needed to. So getting that extra 4 months under our belts at 40 feet, I really think that the spring will be a lot easier. And that's why I told like every parent, like I really feel like we're gonna bust out, at 40 feet the second time. And then right when we get used to it, we'll have to move up to 14s and we'll have to do it all over
Mhm.
again.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, that would be a short-term goal is to put up more runs, to get more RBIs, to get more run support for our pitchers. So we're not having like a pitcher's duel because our pitchers are really great. And so they didn't put up a lot of, give up a lot of runs. There was like maybe
Mhm.
2 games that got like really away from us. But that would be a short-term goal. And for long-term goal with our travel team, it would just be to get to know them better, coach them and see their body language and understand like, oh, okay, okay, okay. I just need more time with them. That's all really it is just like reading them, getting to the parents a little bit better. I think that would really help like the support. Not
Mhm.
that I don't feel supported. I just know there would be more if they really understood what I was trying to do for their kid, you know? So that kind of stuff, it just takes time. It's not like it's going to happen overnight. The relationships are not going to meld into like these meaningful, passionate relationships that we need to have to meet the goal. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So yeah, I would say those things, and it all be. I mean, softball is just a little baby piece of it. You're managing personalities, you're managing families, trauma, all that stuff. Like,
All that.
yeah. So that would be something I would love to do. And I would just, with all this happening in my personal life and, in softball life, it's just making sure I stay balanced. I stay not burnt out, manage myself accordingly. That's really have to like kind of check in. So
Mhm. Okay. What's one thing you can do that can make you a better coach than you already are?
Like everything probably. I have this like
Say everything.
I have this like mentality. My mother-in-law kind of said like you're a life learner. Like you always are trying to learn. And so I'm always trying to not reinvent the wheel of coaching, but like always keeping my ears and like eyes open to like what is the next best thing? What can I say to make something better? There are some personalities I just don't mesh with, which is very typical for every coach. Everyone has their personalities that they're gonna,
Mhm.
gel with, and there's some that are like, I'd rather she not be on my team. Like, I don't really like her that much, you know? So I've got to become always a better communicator, always trying to figure out, like, how am I going to get to this girl faster than I am now? You know what I mean? With my words. I could be a little bit more organized some days, you know?
Mm.
Sometimes I'm type A, sometimes I'm really type B. I'm like, whoa, who cares? Like, we'll write the lineup on a piece of paper. Like, I don't care, you know? And then sometimes I have these like personalized lineups. I don't know. I probably depends on how much sleep I get, but um, what else? That's those are the two things I think that I could always like be better at is like communication is everybody's kind of like kryptonite at times, you know?
Mm.
I would also say I've gotten a lot better, but not saying what people want to hear, but saying what they need to hear. Sometimes it's hard. And I'm like, I'll tell them later. I'm like, no, just say it. Like, hey, you didn't hit as well today. Okay. That wasn't that hard, but it was. But it
But it was,
was.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one thing that, but that's, well, I can't. It's a lot of coaches that do that. So that
Right.
they like to tell the kids, what they need to hear and not what they want to hear, or vice versa. I don't know if I said that right or not,
Yeah. Yeah. I
but
know what you meant. Yeah.
yeah, I guess it's people that do that. I mean, I tell my kids. Well, no, I don't. I tell my kids exactly what it is.
Yeah.
I
You're
don't
like,
beat
you
around the
sucked.
bush.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't beat around the bush. I tell them, if you suck, you suck. I'm sorry. It's
Yeah.
not.
Sometimes I'm like, who cares? Like, it didn't, we won. Like, yeah, like you didn't
Mm,
play awesome, but we didn't need you to. Like, we need you next game,
yeah,
maybe. Like,
next
don't
game.
worry
Yeah.
about it, you know?
Mhm.
So, I mean, sometimes it falls on your shoulders, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Especially with softball, you never know. You
Never.
never know. Never know. You might have a whole weekend where it's like you can be mediocre and get by. Next weekend, you have to be great for your
Totally.
team to get by. So
Well,
it's
and
just,
there's some games where you went like 7 for 8 and it didn't
mhm,
affect the win-loss at all.
yeah.
Like, you're like, "Dang, I killed it." You're like, "Yeah, but we couldn't score you, so our bad." You
Hmm.
know, like,
Yeah.
it just it
You're the only
takes
one
a
got
it
on
takes a
base.
whole yeah, it takes a whole, like, 9 people to win ball games, so I think that's, like, super important for everyone not think, like, it's only up to them. Like, we had plenty of opportunities to score, we just didn't, you
Yeah.
know?
Hmm. Bases loaded, 1 out, 0 points.
Yeah. Well, that didn't work out.
What's some advice you could give your younger self?
Mm, that's a good one. I don't know. I mean, I would say grace. I mean, like there was sometimes even in college I was like really hard on myself and I felt a lot of pressure. Like at the plate, it wasn't really pitching. It was at the plate that I felt like god, like if I don't do it, nobody will.
Mhm.
And that's not true. That wasn't true at all. You know, I also wish that I could have carpomentalized like a lot of my outside stuff and just been able to be present in the moment. And that's really hard. I think for a lot of people, even, you know, like at work or whatever. Um, I even struggle with it now. You know, like if I have something going on, I kind of let it fester and I really need to like shut it off, go do my job and come back. And I wasn't mature enough as a player to do that some days. And I feel like that would have been a really great tool to learn from somebody else. I didn't know that I was doing that. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
So if there were
Yeah.
stressors outside, like either school or socially or whatever, it affected my playing. And I didn't know that that was what was actually happening until, like, I looked back and I was like, "Oh, damn, like, that sucks." Like, I hate that I wasted those games on that silly thing, you know?
Mhm.
When usually things that you stress out about are nothing, you know? Like, I couldn't put it to the side. So, having those tools would have been awesome, you know, earlier in my life.
Okay. Now, my final question is, who would you like to see on the podcast? But you have to help me get your answer on the
Oh,
podcast.
wow. What a well, you should get, Eugene Bleacher. He's pretty charismatic. He's very informative. He owns 108 Performance. He's really great. You should get Sherry. Sherry for sure you should get.
Mhm.
She is like a spitfire and she would be really fun because she gives so much good information.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we need to reach out to both of those. And matter of fact, right now you can just tell everybody, about your live that you do on Mondays and all your social media stuff you got going on.
Yeah, so we do lives on Mondays, and those are like all different types of topics, but usually it comes down to like recruiting and just basically softball travel overall. A lot of people comment questions, and we ask, like, we try to answer as many as we can. Sometimes, there's 30 people and it's really easy, and sometimes there's 300 and it's really hard to get to the questions, and a lot of them are very repetitive. Any type of social media stuff they all want or need, we can always try to post it or find you resources. I think like the biggest thing is just like keeping the network growing and understanding like you don't have to do it by yourself. You can always find someone that has the answer if you don't. Um, and the other thing that we have going on is I'm going to a convention, USA World of Baseball. I'm going to that convention with Aeroswing. It's one of my sponsors that I have that I kind of like use their products. They are so great. You can find a discount code on my link tree. It's basically works hand speed training when it comes to your swing, but it's light enough where youth sports can use it. It's not heavy. So it's like wind resistant, which is like so great. So if you want one of those, I have like a 20% discount on my link tree. And my link tree is on my TikTok. So there you go. And on my Instagram. I'm trying to build up my YouTube, but man, that is something I have not done yet. So yeah, I have 2 whopping subscribers and I need to get about 2 million more.
I
So
was about to say, yeah, I'm trying. I'm trying to get up there, and it's
I
like,
know I haven't done anything on YouTube Shorts, but for TikTok, it might be going away. It might not be. We don't
I heard
know.
that, yeah.
So that would be another adventure that I would take on if it did. But
Hmm.
I do find comfort in just like the community that you build when it comes to online stuff. And I am totally cool with if people tell me I'm wrong. I just need you to tell me why. And I will totally listen to you. But if you can't tell me why, I don't care.
Well, we are at the end, and I really appreciate you giving me the time doing the podcast. It was very easy. Some people it's very hard to get on. Some people it's easy. For you, message, boom, set the schedule, set it up. It was done. So I really appreciate that for you giving me your time,
Oh,
and
yeah, of course.
it was interesting because people was asking me, is she gonna be the TikTok Coach Margo or the regular Coach Margo? And I think you had a little, funny moments, good moments, serious moments, all in one. So it was good hearing you speak. And like I told my the last one I had, it's good talking to someone that I don't really know personally, because have had a lot of people on my podcast that I kind of been knowing for a while, and it's like, okay, it's kind of just to keep this thing going. But hearing like somebody like you that I had no idea who you was or nothing like that, so it's always good to have people like this on the podcast. And I mean, people like this, like, it for sure make my podcast keep going.
All right. Well, I'm glad I could help, and I had a lot of fun. Thanks for having me.
All right, have a good night.
All right. Bye.
All right, bye. All right, y'all, we had it, Coach Margo. TikTok, Coach Margo. Y'all should go make sure y'all go follow Coach Margo on TikTok. Again, thank my sponsors, Steve Aguado, Justin Womack. Remember them chains. Steve Aguado, he got this banner made. You want to reach out to him, ask him where he got it from. Justin Womack, he get the chains, turnover chains, MVP chains, just regular team chains, personal chains. He can make them small just for you to wear them personally. Shout out to my wife for making me these shirts, and shout out to my wife for giving me some great questions tonight. Catch y'all later.